Ever notice how your 100 rupee note buys less each year? That's inflation at work. Prices of everyday items like tomatoes or onions can spike overnight, but when almost everything gets pricier over time, it's inflation, not just a seasonal blip. Inflation erodes your purchasing power. The same rupee buys fewer goods and services than before. This isn't just theory, it's a daily reality for millions of Indians. Policymakers and the RBI closely monitor inflation because unchecked, it can destabilize the economy and hit the poor hardest. For UPSC aspirants, understanding inflation is essential. It links government policy to the real lives of citizens. The value of money is always relative to what it can buy, not the number printed on the note. Every price rise, from your commute to your child's school fees, is a signal of broader economic forces at play. Grasping why your money loses value connects macroeconomic policy to everyday life, a crucial perspective for any future administrator. Inflation isn't just numbers, it's the invisible force shaping your budget and the nation's economy. Inflation is the sustained rise in the general price level, meaning your money's purchasing power falls over time. It's not just a one-off price hike. True inflation is broad and persistent. If more money chases the same goods, or if production costs rise, prices go up. Moderate inflation signals a growing economy, encouraging spending and investment. But high inflation creates uncertainty, erodes savings, and hits those on fixed incomes the hardest. That's why the RBI and central banks worldwide aim to keep inflation within a manageable range. For UPSC, you must explain inflation's real-world impact, not just its textbook definition. Inflation acts like a silent tax, influencing interest rates, government spending, and investment. Understanding its mechanics is key to decoding RBI policy and government fiscal moves. It's the economic thread connecting policy decisions in Delhi to kitchens and markets across India. Inflation has different causes, each needing a unique policy response. Demand pull inflation happens when demand outpaces supply. Think rapid economic growth or increased government spending. Cost push inflation arises when production costs rise, like after a poor monsoon or higher minimum support prices for crops. Imported inflation hits when global prices, especially for oil, rise, making everything from fuel to transport costlier in India. Each type requires a different solution. The RBI may raise interest rates for demand pull, while the government tackles cost push with supply-side measures. For UPSC, distinguishing these types is crucial for policy analysis. Understanding the source of inflation helps target the right remedy. India's inflation story is shaped by all three: demand, supply, and global shocks. Recognizing these drivers is key to understanding economic policy. To fight inflation, you must measure it, and that's where CPI and WPI come in. Headline inflation covers all items, while core inflation strips out volatile food and fuel prices to reveal underlying trends. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, tracks retail prices of a basket of goods and services, reflecting the cost of living for households. Since 2014, the RBI uses CPI as its main inflation gauge. The Wholesale Price Index, WPI, measures price changes at the wholesale level, focusing more on goods traded between businesses. WPI can signal future CPI trends, as wholesale price changes often pass through to consumers. Both indices are vital, but CPI is now the main anchor for policy decisions. Understanding these terms helps decode economic news and RBI actions. For UPSC, clarity on CPI versus WPI and headline versus core inflation is essential. While rising prices worry us, falling prices, deflation, can be even more dangerous. Deflation means prices drop across the board, making people delay purchases, which hurts demand and jobs. It also makes debts harder to repay, risking financial instability. Japan's lost decades show how damaging deflation can be. India hasn't faced true deflation, but we often see disinflation, a slowdown in the rate of price rise, not actual price drops. Disinflation is usually the goal of RBI's anti-inflation policies, aiming for manageable inflation without recession. For UPSC, don't confuse deflation, falling prices, with disinflation, slower price rise. Knowing the difference is key to interpreting economic data and policy. Deflation is rare and risky. Disinflation is common and often desirable. Understanding these terms helps you analyze RBI and government actions accurately. In India, the RBI and the government share the job of controlling inflation. The RBI uses monetary policy, mainly the repo rate, to manage demand pull inflation by making borrowing costlier and cooling demand. It also uses tools like the cash reserve ratio and open market operations to control liquidity. The government tackles cost-push inflation with fiscal policy, releasing buffer stocks, cutting taxes on essentials, or banning exports to boost supply. Both must work together. The RBI manages demand. The government smooths supply shocks. The right policy depends on the type of inflation. Monetary tightening won't fix a poor monsoon, but supply-side steps might. For UPSC, understanding this interplay is crucial for analyzing India's economic strategy. Effective inflation control needs coordination and correct diagnosis. Policy success hinges on knowing what's driving inflation and choosing the right tools. For UPSC, knowing inflation theory isn't enough. You must connect it to real data and current events. Build your foundation with core concepts: CPI versus WPI, demand pull versus cost push, monetary versus fiscal policy. Track monthly CPI numbers and RBI's target range to understand trends. Read RBI policy statements and the economic survey for official analysis. Link global events, like oil shocks or monsoon failures, to their impact on Indian inflation. Analyze how government policies, like MSP hikes, affect inflation and different social groups. Practice writing answers that blend theory, data, and current affairs for deeper analysis. Explain not just what the RBI does, but why, using current numbers and policy context. This approach elevates your answers from descriptive to analytical. Mastering this integration is key to excelling in the exam and in public service. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe, share it with your UPSC prep group, and comment below. What's one economic concept you want simplified next? See you in the next video, where we decode monetary policy and RBI's toolkit.